Hi boys and girls, Shalom. אני רוצה לעבור על המבחן. I want to review the test with you and tell you about the results. So if I would look at the percentages or your marks, I would say that I'm quite disappointed. The marks were not as high as I really had hoped, and judging from the participation in class, I expected them to be higher. The positive part is that looking over the tests, I feel that there is a sense of what Israel is about, why Israel was created, what was happening in Europe, and I think that those things you knew quite well. So even though the marks are low, I think that we had some major accomplishments, and I'm proud of you for what you did. We will discuss in class whether having a weekly homework piece would help you remember the material a little better. Also, some of the material was a question of how I phrased the questions. So I'd like to go over them with you briefly, as quickly as we can over here. First question: How big is the state of Israel? And I would like to suggest that we discuss this. We said the length is like the distance from Montreal to Toronto. The width in the widest part is like the distance from Montreal to Mont Tremblant. And in the narrowest part is like the distance from the school to the Olympic Stadium. I also used an image that if we could pick up Israel like a Fisher-Price puzzle, we could drown it in Lake Ontario. To tell me that it's not too big and not too small is not really an answer. You know that. What is the difference between the land of Israel, Eretz Israel, and Medinat Israel, the state of Israel? Eretz Israel is the land which God promised to Abraham. Medinat Israel is the modern state, the country that was created in 1948. What is the connection between the Jewish people and Israel? We studied this at our very first lesson when we said that God promised Eretz Israel to Avraham Avinu when he said to him, Lezaracha eten et haaretz azot, I will give this land to your children. So we are thinking about the biblical promise when we speak about the connection between the Jewish people and the land. How did Jews get to Europe? An answer by boat is not an answer. How did Jews get to Europe? When the Romans destroyed the temple in the year 70, the Jews were exiled to Rome and to Italy, and when they were freed, they traveled up the Italian peninsula and distributed themselves all over Europe. Who drove the Jewish people out of the land of Israel and when? Who was the Romans, or if you remember the general, his name was Titus or Titus, when in the year 70. So it's important to know that the Jews were driven out of their land by a conquering army. What made the Jews think about going to the land of Israel in the late 1800s? There was a difference between what was happening in Eastern Europe and Western Europe, but bottom line was that there was hatred of Jews called anti-Semitism, and Jews were really kicked out of every country in Europe, and they had nowhere to go. Nobody wanted them. Question number 7. Explain the difference between what was happening to the Jewish people in Eastern Europe, Russia and Poland, and Western Europe, France and Germany. In Eastern Europe, in 1881, the Russian Tsar Alexander II was killed, assassinated, and there were all sorts of pogroms against Jews, and I showed you an example on Fiddler on the Roof. In Western Europe, in France, after the French Revolution, there was equal rights for all, including Jews, but the local people, the Christians who lived there, could not accept that the same Jews whom they hated for hundreds if not thousands of years before suddenly had equal rights and were competing with them for jobs in business, in professions, in universities, and while the Jews had equal rights, they just couldn't accept them. So there was anti-Semitism in Eastern Europe, there was anti-Semitism in Western Europe. Jews knew that there was no choice, they had to leave, and Theodor Herzl convinced them that they must create a Jewish homeland. Number 8. What was the name of the area where most of the Jewish population of Europe lived in the 1880s? This was the Pale of Settlements. Who became the leader of the Jewish community of Europe in 1897? That was Theodor Herzl. What were the factors that influenced leaders of Jewish community to push for a Jewish homeland? So we spoke about the election of the mayor of Vienna in Austria. His name was Mayor Luger. We spoke about a thinker in Germany who wrote about the theory of race, and his name was Düring. We spoke about Albia, the student society that said that there would be no Jews allowed, and therefore Herzl quit and said that if my brothers can't belong here, I can't belong here. The fourth factor would be anti-Semitism. And who ruled over the land of Israel in the 1880s? The correct answer was the Ottoman Empire. I hope that you could remember the details of European anti-Semitism, the Ottoman Empire, Herzl, and how tiny Israel is. I'm going to see you in class on Thursday, and I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you.